All right, instant reaction as Oklahoma takes down South Carolina on the road 26-7. A game that never really felt like it was close. There was a short stretch there at the end of the second quarter where it looked like South Carolina was going to make things interesting, but Oklahoma's defense dominated this game. That was the story of the game. They lived in the backfield. Sellers had no time to do anything. And honestly, if not for Sellers making incredible plays to avoid sacks in certain situations, it would have been a lot worse than what it already was. Great game for Oklahoma. They finally got the run game going, something that they have struggled to do all year long. Blaylock had a huge game. Xavier Robinson had a good game, especially those first couple of drives. The first drive in particular, but a couple of drives after that. Oklahoma dominated, gashed South Carolina on the ground. Um, Oklahoma didn't really do a ton in terms of explosive plays offensively, especially after those first couple of drives. But they did enough to get the job done. They took care of the ball. They, didn't have a lot of turnovers. They were very, very efficient on third downs, which was a huge story of the game for their offense. But Oklahoma got the run game going. For the most part, was very good in pass protection, and again, the most important thing, that elite defense that they have came through. South Carolina didn't really ever have a chance offensively. Good win for Oklahoma. Good bounce back victory after the game last week against Texas, where I thought, there was a couple of holes that showed up on their defense. Texas, Oklahoma couldn't tackle in space. They did a much better job today. There were still moments where South Carolina was able to make plays, especially in the open field with some missed tackles, but didn't hurt them today. Great overall, just dominant performance for Oklahoma. All three phases: offense, defense, and special teams. Their punter had a couple of bad punts, but he bounced back with his last couple there. And speaking of punting, John Mateer had an amazing punt, had the best punt of the day. John Mateer, their quarterback, had the best punt of the day, pinning South Carolina down on their own one, and then Oklahoma would go on to get the safety. I believe the very next play, South Carolina's first play of the drive, they were able to get him in the end zone for a safety. Dominant performance. They got a huge one coming up against Ole Miss, who's currently playing Georgia right now. But Oklahoma had a great bounce back victory, and then they get home against Ole Miss, get to come back home after a big victory. Things are looking up for Oklahoma, and we'll see if they can carry this momentum into next week against Ole Miss.